Hey Broadway people, we are talking Xanadu today on Broadway Breakdown, and I know you don't want to miss any of this roller skating 80s madness that we're about to discuss, so join us in just a few.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movie.
Woo!
Yes!
Where everyone
James
has
got
to
it.
go.
I'm dancing much like Olivia did in the film. Right, just that
You're
kind of.
taking on that role right now.
I'm just kind of moving.
All right, everybody, we are here. We are Xanaduing.
Yes.
We, like in the movie, are not roller skating that much. Everybody, you're on Broadway Breakdown right now, the place where you know where you can find it. Broadway shows, plays, musicals, and films, as today, based on them or they were based upon. So you can find me, Phipps14, on Instagram, on Twitter, pretty much everywhere except for Snapchat. That's 1214. And I am joined today by some people we haven't met on this show yet, but you've met them probably on different places. Across our networks, we have, sir, would you like to start?
Hi, I'm Frank Moran. You can follow me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie.
And of course, I'm James Lott Jr. You know who I am. You all know who I am. I do stuff on everything that AfterBuzz Media produces. And you can follow me at James Lott Jr. on the interwebs.
Calm down, sir.
And I'm like, yeah, sorry. I'm ready.
I'm so happy you guys are here with me.
Yes, thanks, girl.
Jackie, unfortunately, was not able to make it today. She's in New Orleans, so we're not feeling bad for her.
No, not at all.
No.
That's 123 Jackie B. You can follow her on social media. I love Jackie B. I'm so sad she's not here.
He's embodying her at the moment. I see it.
I think I am. I have to represent Miss Jackie B.
And as you heard, we're talking Xanadu. And if you've ever watched this movie, this is the movie version. We'll talk musical later. But it is 80s madness, roller skating, muses, painting, dancing, Gene
Animation
Kelly,
sequence.
animation, craziness.
Yes.
And we'll get into it all in just a few minutes. But before that, we have our little sequence, our Broadway news for the week. And this is brought to you by Robert Diamond and Broadway World. So first up, we have John Mcmartin has passed away. He passed away July 7th. He was 86. He was in the original Follies. Yeah. He did the new... Anything Goes.
Anything Goes,
And
yeah.
he was recently in All the Way on Broadway. He also was in Cheers, The Partridge Family, Golden Girls. He's been all over the place. And he's going to be sadly
Yeah,
missed.
a long time. I mean, long time actor who's been out there, working in all different mediums. So it's kind of always sad with someone who has a body of work that's so big that passes. You're like, oh, it's kind of cool that he had a long body of work. I mean, talk about Partridge Family and Anything Goes.
There's people that you see and you don't always know even that they've done Broadway if you aren't in that world. Maybe you just know a couple plays and then you see that they've passed away and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that they were such a huge Broadway person.
That's very true.
Because you just recognize them from television or movies.
Yeah, that's very true.
So he's going to be sadly missed. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Rest in paradise, some people say.
I like that. That's
Rest
a
in
good one.
paradise. Yes.
Our next bit of news is Ariana Grande, Hairspray Live. They dropped that news this week that she's going to be playing Penny. Woohoo!
Alexis is excited.
By the way, in case I forgot to mention, we do have our musical goddess in the room with us, Alexis Torres. She'll be in our booth.
That's right.
Where can they find you, Alexis?
Oh, sorry, I said it before.
It's okay. James Lott Jr. knows where to find me. It's at Torres890, and I'm actually really excited to see a whole different cast of for Hairspray, and I think she'd be great as Penny.
I think acting-wise and singing-wise, I'm fine with it. The only thing I could see being a problem with is this show is so about the segregation and everything like that. It's a big thing because she's white, dating a black man. Is that gonna come and interfere with it? I don't know if it will or not. It's just a thought that popped in.
Because she's not white, right?
Yeah.
She's like Latino.
Well, yeah, because she's supposed to be with the... I mean, maybe we'll just go with the fact that because her mother is a very religious person. Maybe we'll just go with that for right now.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, it can still work. That was just one of the thoughts that popped in my head.
That makes
Good
sense.
thought. No,
I didn't even
really
think about
good.
that.
Good
But I
thought.
also like that Broadway does blind casting, and it doesn't matter what you are. So
We'll just pretend.
Yeah. She's light enough.
so
She's light-skinned
far
enough.
with this cast, I'm liking what they're doing with the Hairspray cast. I like that almost everybody is very musical, very Broadway, comes from some sort of background, and I love that Martin Short is probably my ultimate.
Martin Short's a great. He's so good.
I think he's going to be hilarious with Harvey Fierstein.
Oh, he'll be hilarious. I mean, he's just good in everything. Like, I saw a special on him on how he's a professional guest on late night shows and what that means. Because he comes on late night shows a lot, with no projects, but he's so good that 15 minutes, 10 minutes he's on. He's just so good.
Yeah,
gonna
you feel safe when you know you have
Yeah.
Martin Short involved in your production. Like, all right, that's one thing we don't have to worry about.
Right.
It's going to be interesting seeing like some of these people like Harvey Firestein, Martin Short, that've been around for so long, with someone like Ariana Grande, who's pretty new to like the acting. She was in Scream Queens.
Yes.
And I think she did something else that I can't think
Yeah.
of, but she's fairly new to the film and television.
I think
Yeah.
the show that she was on in Nickelodeon was called like Victorious.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right. I
that's
forgot
right.
about
Me
Nickelodeon.
too.
I haven't watched that
Okay,
since the
she hasn't
90s.
been on. Yeah, like that was the main thing. I think that's where she started, and then that's where she kind of blew up. From.
Well, they all kind of either Disney or Nickelodeon. That's where they all start, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays.
Nowadays.
There really isn't a different network for children.
I know. That's crazy. Right?
And our last bit of news we got for you guys today is that we have a new cast for Hamilton. For the
the
top
cast
3 leads.
They ended. The mid-year cast ended this weekend. I have friends who were trying to get tickets to this last. They were like $10,000
Oh my
for
God.
seats. So
No.
I'm like, I'm poor. I won't be doing that.
No, I'll just be like with everybody else, watching the PBS special.
Waiting for that DVD to come out.
They did film it, so you know.
That's true. On PBS, they probably will be on PBS.
That'll
I'll
be
watch it too.
and now, unless they come back to reprise the role at all, that'll be where you can watch Leslie Odom and
Yeah.
Lin-Manuel and Philippa Soo.
Yeah.
Because they're gone now.
Yeah.
Now we have Brandon Victor is going to be playing Aaron Burr instead. He came from Shuffle Along. He was also in The Color Purple. Not this time, I don't believe, but a different time. And he was nominated for Best Featured Actor for that. We have Lexi Lawson, playing Eliza Hamilton. And then she was in the Heights with Lin-Manuel, so that makes
Great musical. I love the musical.
sense. And then Javier Munez is going to take over for Hamilton. He was the understudy,
Okay, we're good.
so he's taking over. So it should still be a great show.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's. I actually had lunch with a guy yesterday who was college roommates with him.
Oh,
So I was like, why aren't you hitting up right now for tickets? Just
right.
go. Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, hello.
Yeah, I mean, use your connections if you can.
Exactly.
But sometimes people get weird about not seeing the original cast, but sometimes you see other people
And they're good.
And they're great. Or sometimes it's even star. Like me and Alexis actually saw Kinky Boots just a few months ago.
So good.
And Wayne Brady had stopped doing the tour right before he came to LA.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like a little like, oh, we're not gonna see Wayne Brady. But the guy that did it was so amazing. I was like, I saw videos of Wayne Brady, and while he still did a great job, I was kind of like, I'm glad we had our guy because he was so good.
You're absolutely very correct because I've seen Chicago with BB Newirth. I've seen it with Vanessa Williams. I've seen it with different people, and they all were pretty good in it as the lead character. I've seen Kiss of the Spider Woman. I saw it with Vanessa Williams and another person, and Chita Rivera, who originated it. They were two different performances, but they were both really good. The show still was great. Like they still embody. That's what actors and dancers are trained to give you what the show is about.
Yeah.
So hopefully they're good.
So don't get discouraged if it's not the
Yes.
original cast. Still go see plays and musicals.
Yes, agree.
Understudies might be even better than the regular person.
You never know.
Yeah, Lin-Manuel's kind of
Yeah,
he's just coasting by.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done anything.
Yeah, he's not serious about it, yes. But I agree with you. People should still go see it. You never know.
I mean, Sutton Foster was an understudy,
That's right.
and she got bumped up because the lead got sick, and now she's Sutton Foster.
That's Tony winner, Sutton Foster, isn't she? I believe she's
Yeah,
Tony winner.
she's multiple Tony winner, I believe.
Yes.
At least multiple nominated.
Nominated, yeah, for sure. I love her on Younger.
All right, guys. Thank you for going to our Broadway News section. You can find all this news and more on BroadwayWorld.com, and we thank them so much for giving this to us. Let's get right into the musimusical. Let's talk a little bit about this crazy. I had not watched this movie since I was like 7 or 8.
Okay.
I remember watching it with my mom because my mom loves Olivia Newton-John, and I remember loving it. And so I rewatched it just a few days ago, and I was just like, I had forgotten so much, or I was so little that there's so much crazy. We were talking earlier. It's kind of like
Drugs. Drugs.
someone's acid trip,
Yes.
which doesn't mean that it's not a fun movie. Let's get this straight. We might get some negativity on here about this movie, which is to be expected.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean it's not a fun movie.
Here's the thing. So I'm a 70s child. So I grew up with drug-induced television. If you watch anything like H.R. Puffin stuff, Land of Lost, all that stuff, all Saturday morning cartoons, you look at them now, you're like, they were on drugs, obviously, when they produced these and put them together. But they were good. They were fun. They were entertaining. So when Xanadu came out, I was 11. And so Olivia John, I mean, she was huge at the time. I mean, this was after Grease and all her songs. She was a big, big star. And so I was like, anything she was going to be in, I wanted to see it. I was ready to go see it. So when I saw the movie originally, I thought, it didn't bother me so much the whole animation sequence that we'll talk about later. Because it kind of fit, because I was kind of trained as a child to see weird stuff, I guess. But when I look back, like you said, I watched it again, I'm like, oh my God, they're singing fish. I mean, like, it's like this weird, like, why is that in there? Like, it's like, it made no sense later. But I was trained as a kid to kind of go along with whatever they gave me, I guess.
Well, I guess when you think about the movie, because it was originally just a small little roller skating film that was supposed to just kind of capitalize on the phenomenon, and then all of a sudden Olivia Newton-John says, hey, I'd like to do this, and then you just see where it's like, wow, you have this flimsy kind of film, but all of a sudden you get big names attached to it, and you're like, oh man, we've got to catch up to try to do something with this.
Yes.
And just doesn't quite, the reach exceeds their grasp.
Well, and that was the crazy part for me about it, was that we had Olivia Newton-John, we had Gene Kelly, we had Kenny Ortega doing the choreography, we had Don Bluth doing the animation. Like, these are major people in the industry, and the product was not necessarily what you would think you would get from something of those clips.
Which, as we know, in many films, sometimes they have a lot of big names, they flop. You can have lots of great talent, and somehow it gets lost in translation. It just doesn't work. That can't happen.
Because I guess originally the script was only 45 pages long, and the director described it kindly as just weak. And so they realized, well, we got to make a film out of this. So they just decided you have to extend these dance sequences. And you can just see in the film, I mean, like the 40s, 80s mashup just is forever. And you're like, okay, this is just trying to pad out to get us to like a reasonable running time for a film.
Well, and this film starts off, we're following this guy, Sonny Malone, and something's up with him because he's like drawing and he's kind of upset and he rips the paper and throws it out the window and says, why do I even dream?
Well, you know what's even bonkers right from the beginning when they're showing the Universal logo, and it goes from the old school with the airplane, and then it goes to like a jet, then a Concorde, then a UFO.
Yes.
And then it's like, you already know this is going crazy bananas right out of the gate.
And I just love watching the paper fly because it's old school CGI and stuff, and I'm like, that looks so real.
Yes. Well, it's funny because, it was based on Down to Earth by Rita Hayworth back in the 40s. Very loosely based. And he's right. There was this whole thing, we're going to make this big, because roller skating was really big, hence my skates. These are my skates, actually.
These are his skates, and I didn't show it in the beginning. I was going to kick up.
Can you do it?
I got my leg warmers.
Leg warmers. You go, girl.
It's stretchy.
Skating was really big, and especially late 70s to early 80s, skating was this big thing. So there were a lot of skate movies and a lot of movies that people were on skates, and I made jokes about Facts of Life. They had Tootie was on skates. So they wanted to make they wanted to make this little small skating picture, and they kind of, you're right, it kind of fell apart when they decided to make it into like a story.
Yes.
I mean, like, that's the only way I could put it.
The story's not even like that bad,
no.
If you think about it. I mean, it's muses coming to life to help people that are down on their luck at the time and wanting to give up on their dreams.
Yes.
I laughed so hard when they come off the wall, though, and they have this silhouette of glow.
Yes.
Because it reminded me of Hercules. The cartoon. That was the first thing that popped in my head. Was like, did Hercules borrow this from did the creator watch this?
I love that. It's so funny.
But like all the muses, they come off so confidently, except for Olivia Newton-John. She's kept covering her eyes, being like afraid to come out. I'm like, what is going on? Why is she the oddball out on this?
For the I'm Alive.
I love that song.
Which is a great song.
Yellow.
And I noticed that right off the bat too. It's like all these people are dancing and she's just kind of like, like there's not much. Which you can get away with not being a great dancer. I mean, she's a great singer, so we don't need her to be a great dancer. But when you're being put on set with all these people that are amazing dancers and trained dancers, it just shows you how much she's not.
It doesn't stick out like as much in Grease, though. I mean,
no, because they didn't have as many dance sequences. Which, by the way, that was my first thought. Was the opening of this movie was waves crashing on a beach, and I was like, that's the opening of Grease.
Yes, right.
All of her movies open with waves crashing on a beach.
It's a requirement.
She's from Australia.
It's in her little contract.
Right. Yeah. Also, I think it's kind of funny and made me laugh was that Sonny Malone was who painted album covers, larger versions of them. I'm like, album covers. Oh my God, albums.
I was just thinking that someone's job at one point was to do this.
I remember on Tower Records and stuff back in the day, they used to have the giants. They weren't posters, they were actually
because they couldn't print that large. They hadn't figured it out.
Exactly. Isn't that funny? But I remember album art was a big thing in the 70s and 80s. You got the album for the arts. Not so much in the 90s when CDs came out. It didn't happen as much. But getting an album was like a big deal, the artwork.
So this is Sonny's job that he's going back to.
Yes.
Because he tried to make it as an artist on his own, and he was starving and didn't have any money left, so he took his old job that he hates, of recreating album covers into very large posters to put on the outside of record offices.
Yes.
I think this film works better is if you just like think of Sonny as dead inside for the entire movie, and maybe that explains the acting choices made by this until the very end of the movie.
What's it called? Hair? Fabio?
I said feathered.
It was feathered, but it made me think of
Fabio?
Fabio, yeah.
Okay, that was a big style back then. Even Sean Travolta had that hair too. It was like
Yeah.
Saturday Fever hair. It was kind of like, everything was feathered and flowing.
It was just fun.
It's
I love going back to a different time period and watching their films and just being like, oh my god, look at the style choices that happened. And then I think of the future and they're going to do that to us.
Exactly.
No, totally.
But I couldn't figure out like why Simpson, the guy that runs Airflow Records, is so mad at Sonny for taking license with all the artwork that he has to blow up because I want you to paint it exactly. Don't try to class it up or make it look better than what it is. Like, but that's the point, like to sell these albums. So wouldn't you want to make those covers look as appealing as possible to get people to come to a store and buy it? So if you want to like make it look better, that should be a great thing.
That scene was so hard to get through for me just because everyone in there, the acting.
Yes.
Oh.
every single person that worked at that art studio, I would believe that they are actually artists at that art studio
Like
that
for
got
real.
taken
Yes, for
and
real.
said, can you please read these lines?
Well, and what I like too is immediately Sonny gets back in there and he's like, all right, I don't want to come back here. I wouldn't want to do this if I didn't have to. Then immediately the next line is the lady trying to like, hey, I've got a girl that I could set you up with. Like everybody's all about setting Sonny up.
It has.
Yes.
So he's leaving this record studio. And we by the way, Michael Beck plays Sonny.
Yes.
And I looked him up. He hasn't done too much.
No.
He's just one of those people you may see here and there. Did some
No.
TV in the 90s.
Yeah.
Never again. I think he did one thing before called like Warriors or something. I saw that he was pretty big in, but after this, he didn't do anything that was really necessarily that great or huge. Again,
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
I want to say hello to Jazz 41173. She says, "Hi guys, I love this movie."
Oh, hey, am I right?
Go Jazz. So you love the movie.
and yeah, guys, if you want, James will be in the chat roll and you can talk to us through him.
Hello to the folks that are watching right now. How you guys? Say something to me. Tell me how I look.
Tell you how you look.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do?
Talk about his great Charlie's Angel shirt that he's wearing.
Or the movie itself.
So we have Michael Beck, we have the play Sonny, we have Olivia Newton-John playing, and I'm not going to even try to.
The name, I can't even get it.
I'm going to say
either.
Kira because I can't read her Greek goddess
Yeah.
name. But we have Robert Greenwald directed this, and he had primarily done documentaries.
Yes.
TV
yes.
documentaries back like the 50s, 60s. So this was kind of one of his only. He did some other feature films, but not too many.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Well, it makes sense if it was supposed to be like a small film at first, and then all of a sudden gets all these bigger names attached to it. It's like, whoa, all right.
And it flopped. So,
Yeah. So it's you get movie jail, I suppose.
And then we have Gene Kelly,
Gene Kelly.
yes.
Oh, Gene.
one of my favorite actors of all time.
He's good. No, he's good. He
And
was good. He was good.
I love that even that he's older, his smile, just his entire face lights up when he smiles. He just has that old Hollywood
Old
presence.
Hollywood. He does. Very old Hollywood. It was when I heard he was gonna be in it, it was kind of weird. I was like, Gene Kelly. I'm like, okay, it's be interesting for him.
And as much as
was.
his character's called Danny, but as I'm watching the film and I'm writing down the notes and stuff, I could only just call him, refer to him as Gene. That's all.
Yeah,
it's
it's Gene.
It's Gene Kelly.
Yeah,
It's just Gene
he's
Kelly,
not
guys.
Dan McGuire. He's Gene Kelly.
No.
Gene Kelly.
And Danny McGuire, we find out he also once wanted to be this big musician, have a bandstand, and then he met a muse
Yes. That looked like
that
Kira.
looked like Kira,
Yes.
and he fell in love with her. And then she left, and he gave up on his dream and just played clarinet on the ocean side.
Yeah.
For 35 years.
Yeah. Got in the
Until he
family
moved.
business, the construction. That was it.
Jazz says, "Hi James. I thought Michael was cute. Michael Beck. Yeah, The Warriors is apparently going to be turned into a series also soon.
Oh, really? I wonder if
That's what
they'll
I brought
kind
it
of
up.
call him to be maybe just in a cameo or something.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
That's when you brought that up, and they said yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I can't figure out like the muse because the idea of a muse is that she's supposed to inspire somebody
that's it, and then
creatively.
leave.
Yes, but so when he goes out, sees her on the album cover, tries to go around Santa Monica trying to find her, does see her kind of skating by after he meets Gene Kelly and chases her on like a little motor scooter, and then she hides from him and then makes him crash into the ocean and then just takes off. Like,
Which
what
he
kind of
takes
muse-
the motorcycle from someone's like, I'll bring it back, and they're like, if you do in person.
Yeah. I know.
And I was just like, nowadays you'd be like, you ain't getting that back.
And the lady that says sure, when it's like, can I borrow this? Sure. That was one of the muses. She got a little acting. That was her acting moment. She got her one little word of dialogue.
Ah.
Yeah. Muse number 6.
Muse number
And
6.
yes, Amy, we didn't forget Gene Kelly, and it was Gene's last film.
Yes, it was. It was his last film. He did some television stuff into the late 80s, but he started getting sick because he got cancer, and I think that he made a choice to get out of the public eye. A lot of people, especially from that era, didn't want people to see them looking sick.
No, not back then, no.
Because it was that was them. They were, everyone knew who they were. It was a sense of pride.
Yes.
So,
But yeah, Gene Kelly's character was in love with a girl and looked like Kira, of course. It was kind of a funny thing, a throwback. When they had, that's why I mentioned this part because it was interesting, when they had the flashback. This is very notable because Matt Matanzi played young Danny, and that's when he met Olivia Newton-John, and they got married and have little Chloe, who's now grown up now.
and then got divorced.
Got divorced. Yes,
But yes, they met in that movie.
yeah, it was a funny moment in that movie. He was like, he played young Danny. It was like kind of funny that she met her husband.
But Gene Kelly, the dance sequences he does in there, I'm like, it just astounds me. He still is such an amazing dancer throughout his whole life.
Yeah, well, even because he didn't want to come in, and when he did the movie, he's like, I'll do this movie, but I won't dance. And then he met Kenny Ortega, and they had a little conversation privately in a meeting there. And then he said, well, I don't want to dance in this movie, but if I were to dance, what would you have me do? And he said, I'd go back to your vocabulary, and started getting up in front of Gene Kelly and doing a couple of his old moves. And then Gene started calling him, oh yeah, that's this move, and then got up and started dancing with them. And then I said, like, all right, after they broke a sweat, says, all right, I'll do it. I'll be in this movie and I'll dance.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
We actually I have 2 clips of Gene Kelly dancing in the film. The first one's the one he does with Olivia Newton-John, which I was making fun earlier because I was just like, it's so obvious when you watch her dance with him that she's not really tap dancing because you see his ankle moving. You can see his, even though they're not wearing tap shoes at the moment, you can see him still acting like he is, and she's just kind of touching.
It's just like the one where you see somebody that just kind of learned it for a film, but then one that looks so effortless.
He's effortless.
Yes. It looks like he's just strolling down the street.
Yeah.
And he does it every day, which he probably does.
Because he's been dancing for so long.
I know.
It's second nature for him.
And this whole scene was shot after the film had wrapped.
Oh, really?
Right,
Yes,
that's right.
and the reason for that is because after they screened some of the movie, they said, why isn't there a scene where Gene Kelly and Olivia Newton-John do anything together? And so they realized they had to go back and negotiate with Gene Kelly. So like, will you come back and do a dance scene with us?
So that was the style of. Sorry, I cut you off really fast. That was the style. The first one was kind of the old school style, and this was when they bring him into the 80s. But he still does the old school style dancing, just in this crazy fashion store, which made no sense to me of why they just had this.
The
scene.
ELO song.
Yes. And I like how he makes fun of these guys when they come alive. That's my favorite moment of this scene.
I just. If you're a dancer, to just be dancing in a film with Gene Kelly, could you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh, James.
I played the soundtrack to death. You don't even understand.
This part is my favorite part right here. When the legs open and he comes through.
That's right. Woo!
This was one of my low moments for Gene Kelly, doing this terrible montage. I was like, Gene, you're better than this.
I was okay with it just because he was dancing. If he wasn't dancing, this entire montage would be way worse.
Yeah.
The new wave people, I love it.
Oh my god, I love him so much. I just also love that they're putting him in
my
the.
favorite part of the film because he just looks like he's just having a great time.
I think he's having a good time. Yeah.
I also just think it's funny though that he's wearing they're like, oh, I thought they were gonna put him in 80s clothes, but he's pretty much just still wearing just a little snazzier version.
Well, it wasn't fully 80s yet, because it was just 1980s. We hadn't got
Yeah,
to
but
80s,
still like 70s, 80s. I thought he was gonna be wearing
70s, yes.
something more crazy.
Yeah. That's right.
Because that scene, because then you see him the next scene, he's still wearing the same clothes he wore before. I'm like, the only reason to have that scene was the song and the dancing.
Yes.
There was no point in the movie for that scene to exist.
Oh, people are talking about when they skated on Saturdays. Me too.
Yeah, and so I was talking about that early scene when they wanted to go back and get that film, that scene with them. They said, all right, Gene Kelly's stipulation was that he would do it, but he would choreograph that whole scene, and the only people allowed would be a closed set and only be the camera operator, the DP, Kenny Ortega, Olivia Newton-John, and himself.
Wow.
And so Gene Kelly just took Kenny Ortega under his wing and broke down this whole scene. You could just tell, just filming, it just has a different look and feel than the rest of the film.
I can only imagine how much that did for Kenny Ortega too, because this was the beginning of his career.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he's done so much since, like Newsies, pretty much every Disney thing.
The
Newsies, High School Musical.
Yeah, he's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he said he became a mentor to him, and for their next 20 years, they were really tight.
Didn't Kenny Ortega do the This Is It tour for
He did.
Michael?
He did.
Yes, he
This
did.
is it for
I just
Michael
wanted
Jackson.
to make sure that I was
Yeah,
on the
he
same
did.
page. 'Cause I know he did
Aw.
High School Musical and a lot of different
Yeah.
stuff, but I was like, I think the last project I remember him doing was the This Is It.
It was.
Yeah, it was.
How sad. Yeah.
But
Nothing.
for it being, I was just going to mention that for it being, we talk about the roller skating so much, for it being a roller skating film, I wanted more roller skating dance sequences. Because most of the roller skating is just them going down the street in roller skates. There's not, even when she dances in it, it's nothing amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they do that one thing when Xanadu opens and they break into the kind of 3 different factions, and then one does the kind of like little line dancing on roller skates. They do that.
Yeah,
But
at the
that's
end,
it.
you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have that. They have there's that montage. Also, when they do suddenly the wheels are in motion. There's a skating part in that a little bit. Of course, Xanadu's opening night, and also Kieran is a little skating when they do magic.
Yeah.
She's alone. He's like looking at
But
her.
none of it's like
No, I
to the
agree with you.
extent I wanted
No,
it
I
to
agree
be.
with you. I wanted more too. Trust me. I'm just saying that. I was thinking when I looked at it again, it's only like very few scenes were actual skating. You're right. It was very few scenes. I also mentioned that my buddy Shabadoo, who I'm buddies with, who went on to later fame as breaking in all those movies, he was a dancer in this film.
Awesome.
Shabadoo, he was one of the featured dancers in this film, and he talked about it on one of the shows I did for AfterBuzz about how Kenny Ortega was really great to learn from.
Oh, that's cool. I know Gene Kelly was mad for a lot of those scenes at the end when Xanadu was opening, that the scenes of him roller skating, they wouldn't show this full body. So he would get mad because he goes, I want everybody to know that I was really roller skating.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you. I wish there was more skating in it because there were movies. Did you ever see Starlight Express? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's things that you could do skating dance.
Yeah, I mean,
people-
it's like ice skating, but
Yeah.
with roller skates.
exactly.
Roller skates.
Roller
I was
skates.
90s kid. I had rollerblades.
It slipped out, didn't it?
It did.
But I totally. I'm like, it's just a shame they didn't have more. So I agree
Well,
with
and
you.
as we were saying before, the major things of this movie are the music and the dancing, and the music more so, because Frank has a phone call. Should we let him take it on air?
Take it on air. Take it on air. You're on the air, caller. What is your name? Where are you calling
We're
from?
alive.
But the music was the real breakout hit of this film.
Yes.
Because it got nominated for Grammys
Yes.
and it was like number 1, number 2 in
Yeah,
top
can
countries.
I just say something? Because since I think I'm the oldest one here, and I can tell you for a fact, when the album came out, first I was like ELO and Lily and John. Like I was like, their ELO was huge in the 70s. Jeff Lynne, who was the leader, was a Beatles fan. And so he made ELO kind of like a 70s Beatles. And then Lily and John, of course, went from being country and then became this pop star. And so them coming together, plus the Tubes were in the movie, and the Tubes, who later had a hit in the 80s called "She's a Beauty," they were in this film too. It was like I was kind of like those all together is kind of weird, but as we see, it totally works. The music part really, really worked. That soundtrack was played to death. I knew everybody who had it. It was played on the radio all the time.
And I think that's an older musical thing. A lot of times, like, 40s, 50s, even 60s with Hair, songs got redone by popular artists. And they'd be put out their own track, and people would not even know that they were connected with the musical.
Mm-hmm. That's very
and that
true.
doesn't really happen anymore, I don't feel.
And I don't think so either anymore. I don't think so either. A lot of times it's just you have just a cast recording and that, and occasionally something will come out of it. Like I always think of Cups by Anna Kendrick,
yeah.
which was a huge hit from Pitch Perfect. But like no one else has remade it or did it on their own. You're right. Hair is a great example. There were songs, but this one was like
Guys and Dolls.
Yeah, they all remade songs, and the artists would do it, and it'd all become
And
hits.
I think they used to just make the songs like it wasn't 100% Broadway feel in all musicals. And this one, even you don't need it to be a musical to know these songs.
No, you don't. That's very
And
true.
for them to make sense. And then sometimes I think nowadays they write songs more for the musicals, and if you hear them out of context, they won't make quite as much sense. Not always.
No, but you're right on some of them. They do write, well, as we know, one of our musicals, Chorus Line, where they wrote a couple of things that were just for the film that weren't on the actual stage, which I guess they still work. I guess they could work on stage too, I guess.
Because I guess we're 5 top 20 top 20 songs. Would you agree with the top 5?
Yes.
Or is there another song in that album that you feel like, man, I wish it would have gotten, it deserved more attention?
I wish All Over the World got a little more attention, but Suddenly was my song. I love that song with Cliff Richard. I love Xanadu. I used to skate, like I said, every Saturday, skate, and that song was played all the time. Magic. See, here's the thing about Magic. Now I'm going to say something that I guess kind of goes back to what you were saying, Briana. Actually, Magic, people don't think of it as Xanadu as much anymore. They think of it as a Louis and John hit.
I think it's coming back as Xanadu because of the musical being made.
I agree. It's so weird. It's like it was a huge hit for her. It's just been kind of known for so many years, just one of her many hits. But it's from this movie that made it was a huge,
And I have a little clip of magic
Ooh, okay. Let's see that. I'm ready.
that we can play as soon as we're ready. Just let us know.
So
My goddess in the booth.
So I'm going to say a comment to Frank from someone on here. Let's see. They were saying, Frank. Here it is. Excuse you, Frank. That was a fantastic sequence culminating in the giant pinball machine. You can't get more 80s.
Oh, man. Oh, it's just, come on.
Raspberry says, the whole point was different eras coming together. There is no movie more 80s than this.
Magic was... I agree with the 80s thing. It's a very 80s feeling film.
I saw it in the drive-in as a double feature. I'm about to really age myself.
Every time you and Marc J. Freeman are with me, I feel like you always tell me you're going to age yourself.
I'm going to age myself. I'm with all these young people. I'm going to age myself. So this is back in the drive-ins, and you may know this when you were a kid. The drive-ins had those things that you would take off of the pole and hang on your car window. I don't know if
the speakers.
The speaker, the things. The speakers, but they would hang on the car window. And then, so we'd watch them, and that's how I got to see in bad movies, because I was young. But it was a double feature of Xanadu and another 1980 flop, Can't Stop the Music, starring the Village People.
Oh.
That was another one that was horrible. That was like a horrible film. But we saw a double feature of that. It was like, we had the speaker on. It's the whole experience. We had our food. It's a warm experience for me.
So, do you hold Can't Stop the Music as high regard as you do?
I do. The music's really good. The Village People were huge too at the time. They were the Spice Girls of the '70s. They were so huge. So I would hold the music up the same.
So I think we're ready with our video for Magic, and Magic was the U.S. #1 hit for Newton-John.
It was. I think she was nominated for a Grammy too.
This isn't a video. Sorry, I said video. This is just audio.
But she was nominated for a Grammy too, I think.
Yes, it was nominated for Grammy. This one and Xanadu, the title track, was #1 in the UK and several other countries.
Yeah. This song was so big too. Oh my God, she's so good.
Well, because it's one of those songs that you just feel you could roller skate to this, glide to it, like on the couple songs how they used to do that. This is what I would imagine they'd play.
They did used to do that. The couple, all the couples.
All the singles, everyone that's single, get to the side. We don't want you out here.
Exactly. Tell Briana. I forgot about that. I used to do couples skating. Oh, God.
Well, because I used to go to the roller rink as a kid before they kind of got rid of most of them. Like they still had. When I was little, we still had them. We had birthday parties there.
Okay, that makes sense.
And they would do that, and as a kid, you're like, what?
Well, it's couple skating, but
and you'd be like, just take your best friend out with you.
Oh, it's so cute. Yeah, that would totally be that. But yeah, it's such a great song. It's a great song.
The music did very, very well for this movie.
Yes, it did. Which doesn't always happen. A lot of times, if the movie isn't a hit, the soundtrack may flop too.
Yeah, you never know. It's kind of a toss-up because some people might just associate it with the film and they don't want to.
Exactly, they don't want to deal with the music. So yeah.
And that's going to bring us to my section called Our Diva Song. That's my favorite part of our show, where I'm going to make everyone tell me what their diva out song is for this one. What song do you sing in the car, in the shower, walking down the street, dance, rock out, don't care who's watching?
From this movie,
From this
right?
movie.
Oh, okay, you go first.
Oh, go me. Oh, wow. I don't know if any of them are going to my lips immediately, but I guess it would have to be Xanadu. Yeah. Although I'm probably singing them very quietly.
Don't lie. You start off quiet.
And then that's it. I'm just.
I can see you just like cleaning. And James?
I love Xanadu, and I had told you that when I first talked about it. Actually, because of this movie, I told her I want to come on the show because I do like this. But mine is I still sing Suddenly all the time. Suddenly, the wheels are in motion. I do it all the time.
James is actually just plugging his own new album of covers of Newton John songs.
Do you wear roller skates when you're singing that?
Yeah, I do. I got to go down and I'm just like working out. But suddenly, I love that song so much. And Cliff Richard.
Kind of drop into your home.
Disco balls drop down and they smooth. I just think that song. Cliff Richard.
Does your afro come back?
Like sheer hair. Yes. But no, Cliff Richard was a big name too for a long time also. So I like their voices together. They're really beautiful together. So I like my diva song is Suddenly.
Mine is actually I love from the movie because I have a different one from the musical, which I'll say next week. But from the movie, my favorite is Don't Walk Away.
It's a good song too. It's another good song.
Because of the cartoon?
No, not because of the cartoon. You know, the birds turning into fish, into
Yes.
people. Just,
God, I know, it's so funny.
no, I don't know, because that song is so beautiful to me. It's just, it has like, I can't explain why. I just love singing it and dancing around my living room.
Okay, I like that.
Well, for the
In a
dancing
flowy
for that,
dress.
because they rotoscoped all that animation, Don Bluth did, and Kenny Ortega was the stand-in for Michael. He did all the dancing for all the human parts
Oh, really?
of that animated sequence.
I mean, Don Bluth's amazing. Don Bluth did Land Before Time, Anastasia,
Secret of
Thumbelina,
Yeah.
Secret of Nim, so many.
Yes.
And if you think his work looks a lot like Disney, you are correct, because he used to work for Disney.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is
right.
why everyone thinks Anastasia and Thumbelina are Disney
But
a
they're
lot
not.
of times, but they are not.
They're not.
No, and Joel Silver just came to Don Bluth and said, "Hey, we've got this song that needs to be in this film, and we think it'd be great animated."
And we wanted to think we could make it a little more like we were on drugs,
let's have an
so we want to
sequence.
add an animated sequence.
Blah says Suspended in Time is their Diva song. It's a good song, too.
And also, guys, we have not gotten one yet, but we encourage you, tell us what your Diva song is, and if you feel especially brave, videotape yourself covering it.
Oh my
and we
God,
might play it
just
on our show.
You should totally do it, you guys. I think I'm going to do it and send it in.
Of course.
Next week, I mean, we're going to be covering the musical next week,
Okay.
so we can send it, we'll play it during the show.
Okay.
We're gonna play James Lott Jr. next week, everybody.
Yes, exactly. Do that.
So let's go to awards for this.
Yeah.
Because as we already mentioned with the music awards, but there was a little thing that most people know called the Razzies.
The Razzies.
That was created because of this film.
Yes.
Look at that.
I
I mean,
know.
that right there. Thank you,
Changing
Xanadu.
things.
Yes.
And I wrote down, sorry, my notes.
It was nominated for a lot of Razzies.
6
I wrote-
awards.
Yeah, I wrote down what it was because it was director,
You know, so.
We had director.
worst picture, screenplay, actor, not for Gene Kelly. I'm just saying.
Okay, you're like, not him.
Worst actress for Olivia Newton-John. Worst original song for Suspended in Time. Worst musical of our first 25 years. And
That's the winner.
it won worst director. That was the only one it won,
That's
to be
interesting.
fair. But I had no idea that was created because of this. And because I think of the other musical you mentioned was the other reason it was
Yeah,
created.
Can't Stop the Music. There's another one. They're bad.
Between those two, which one would you say would be the worst musical of the first 25 years?
Ooh. God. I think Can't Stop the Music, probably.
Yeah.
I think the other one. We the
Maybe
worst.
this one still has a little bit of heart to it.
It
that
does.
You can connect with it.
Yes. I think so. Like you said, the story isn't bad.
No.
Bad. It's like it's bad.
Did you?
It's not bad. So yeah.
I mean, you could easily watch a movie about a muse
Yeah.
helping someone through the main thing I got upset about was because she was Gene Kelly's muse and he was in love with her. And she falls in love with him and and wants to come to Earth for him, but not for Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
Poor Gene Kelly.
I know. Mm.
35 years. 35 years
That's what he
he's
gets.
heartbroken.
That's what he gets. Dang it.
Yeah, and it's just like no. At least because I feel like a muse. At least she tells Sonny that I have to leave because you're opening Xanadu. That was your dream. At least she tells me.
As she
I feel
sparkles
like
away.
yeah, but I feel like she didn't tell Danny's Gene Kelly character.
No, she just left.
She just left, and it's like, why didn't you at least tell him that? Like, yeah, I'm a muse. I gotta go. Nope, nothing. So you just
Peace out.
I would have dated Gene Kelly.
He was
I
still
would've
handsome
kept
back
him.
then. He was still handsome.
He was super handsome
Yeah.
back in
He was
back
looking
in
at-
Singing in the Rain.
Oh, he's singing. We've talked about that many times. We love that.
So at the end of the film, she takes off again because
Right.
whether you can stay for a moment or maybe longer, who knows?
Right.
We don't know how time works. Which it confuses me too. Like the gods had to take their mortal history class. It's like, but the gods grew up concurrently with the humans, so they would
Right.
not need. They would just know what happened. But you see her leave at the end, and then you wonder when he meets the server that happens to be Olivia Newton-John.
Yes.
Is that Kira again?
Yeah, that's the question.
So, yes,
I
know.
It's
Well,
the big thing of, is it her?
Was a silhouette.
Or is it just someone that looks like her?
Yes, because it was a silhouette, so we don't.
But the way that she is acting towards him, I think
it's her. I'm not sure. Question.
Also, yeah, like when they say for a moment or for forever, then you're like, oh, well, they're just letting them be together. No, no, we're going to take her away
Right.
after just a couple dance sequences.
That moment, as they say like one word to each other, and the credits start rolling. That looked the most relaxed that they were with each other through the entire film, right there.
Yeah,
okay.
there was not a lot of actual chemistry between
No.
these two
No,
actors.
there wasn't. At
They actually
all.
look like they just like two people that enjoyed each other's company in that moment.
So we've talked a lot about, the bad parts of this film, and we like to make fun of it, but it is a cult classic. This film does have a huge following. People love it, and I could see why people love it. Like, I don't hate the film by any means. It's really fun to watch. It has numerous things that are just you could go on, like, look how much we're going on about it right now. And you have something to talk about, I
Yes.
believe.
Okay, just briefly. Also on here, Amy Gonzalez says, it's not as bad as Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Hey.
I like that movie too. I'm like, come on, that's Bee Gees and stuff. You can start with me. That's a whole nother story.
The Beatles can't do wrong, baby.
Exactly. But there was actually a musical that was kind of born out of that called Xanadu. And they actually spelled it phonetically. They did the whole Xana, and Xana was like the muse and was coming down. And they turned it into like a love story. And it turned out to be this whole world of where it was like homosexuality was the norm and being heterosexual wasn't. And trying to make a couple out of that. And it was a lot of fun. And they did several productions. Timocito and Alexander, I'm pronouncing your name, Danus actually wrote the book, did the lyrics and the music. It was on Off-Broadway in 2003, in London 2009. But also I've seen different productions of it, like in San Francisco, in Chicago. People have done it. It comes up every few years or so. It comes up. It's really funny. It's fun, but that's kind of what Xanadu's cult status begat something from there called Xanadu. So when it comes to your town, something to look at. And it was nominated for the Drama Desk Awards and things too. So for like best book and stuff. But it's a fun. I've seen it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so that comes to your town. You have his seal
Yes.
of approval. Go watch that.
Go see it. To me, it's better than the movie. But it's a lot of fun. But that's a direct descendant from Xanadu's kind of cult following status.
Nice. So that about wraps up our show. Like I said, next week we're going to be talking about the musical Xanadu, which was made in 2007, and was actually a huge hit.
Mm-hmm, it was.
And was nominated for Tony Awards and everything. So we'll talk about why that was when the movie did so terribly in the theaters. Why did this do so well on stage? Yeah. So make sure you come back next week so we can talk all about that. I, as always, will be your host, bphipps14 on Twitter and Instagram, bphipps1214 on Snapchat, because I'm different. And where can they find my lovely co-hosts
You can follow me on Twitter at Jacque, and you can check me out later this evening on the Preacher After Show. Usually I'm on the GH Report with this handsome guy, James Lott Jr., but I will not be there this evening.
It's going to be sad. Thank you for having us on the show.
Thank you
was
guys
fun.
for joining.
It's also her birthday last week, so that's why there's stuff right there. I brought it to you. You can follow me at James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms on the GH Report tonight. There's no Bold Breakdown, but GH Report is tonight.
And just so you guys know, the Bold Breakdown GH Report is on our sister network, as long as Preacher on AfterBuzz TV, which if you didn't know, that is where you can find them.
That's true.
Thank you guys.
Thank
See you next week.
Bye, guys. Go to Broadway. Xanadu.
Phil Svitek and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network. Views expressed herein are those of the hosts only, and not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.